As the 2026 World Cup soccer is coming to an end, I thought with all the information through AI and having so many experts analyzing the outcome of the games, how accurate they are. And if we compare that to some of the favorite animals who have made the predictions, how successful were they? So I thought in the next 30 minutes so we have a journey through history looking at back and see how successful they were and what were their thoughts for this coming event or the finals and how successful were they. Now, again, we are predicting the futures, and that has been around for thousands of years. And now, again, we have the AI, and of course, it's not just about soccer. In my world of investments and politics, we all trying to predict what's going to happen next. Now, there's a saying, any believable prediction of the future will be wrong. Any correct prediction of the future will be unbelievable. And as Mark Twain said, prediction is difficult, particularly when it involves the future. Now, before we start, this is the ESPN's ranking of the top FIFA teams as of June 11th. Number one, Argentina, Spain, France, England, Portugal, and so on. So, if you were a 12-year-old soccer fan, would you need tons of AI analysis to kind of predict who do you think will be top four in the World Cup? So, the reason I want to share this, as you see, the number one, two are going to be in the finals, and number three and four will be playing for the third and fourth position. So, anyway, with all the investments that we do of the time and all the resources, it's interesting. So let me take you on a journey to 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Jim O'Neill was the CEO of Goldman Sachs Asset Management. He was and is an avid soccer fan, and Goldman Sachs came up with his World Cup and Economics 2014 analysis. And what they did, they went and looked at from the GDP, they analyze all kinds of information economically, but also historically about the World Cup. And this was their prediction in 2014. This is May of 2014. And what they had suggested was these are the knockout bracket. And the bottom line was that Argentina will lose to Brazil 3-1, and Brazil will be beating Germany in semifinal in order to get to the final. Of course, history tells us this is the actual returns. Germany beat Brazil, which is one of the biggest shockers in the history, 7-1. And the final actually ended up being Germany and Argentina, with Germany won the World Cup. And they did it. Actually, it's the first European team winning in Americas, in South America in this situation. So, and of course, Netherlands beat Brazil at home, at Brazil's home, 3-0. Now, let's fast forward to 2018. This is the Russia FIFA World Cup. And again, Goldman Sachs was added again. And of course, we had UBS and we had the Dutch bank ING. And what they had suggested, again, as you can see, the top four were France, Brazil, Portugal, and Germany in the semifinals. And Brazil was supposed to beat Germany 2-1. And UBS again predicted that Germany as the most likely champion, followed by Brazil and Spain. And then ING had predicted that the Spain was the most valuable player and they would beat France. So, well, the France was correct, and that was it. So here's the actual returns for 2018. Well, in this situation, what we had was France beat Belgium in semifinals and Croatia beat England, and France ended up being champions by beating Croatia. And then we had the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. BCA did unbelievable research and they went again, they look at the they looked at the players, and we did I do have a couple of videos on this in 2022 if you were interested. And we looked at older analysis, in-depth analysis, unbelievable, again, looking at the information. And on the bottom, they call this the most important of all an important forecast, the second edition. And as Pope John Paul II said, amongst all unimportant subject, football is by far the most important. So this was their prediction, and what they looked at the end, they felt that Argentina will play Portugal, and third place will be Brazil and England in again in Qatar 2022. And then the odds were actually 50-50 between Portugal and Argentina. And the problem winning them, there was a Brazil and England. Brazil 51%, England 49%. Here we are. Well, they were correct about Argentina. And you remember, there was one of the most exciting finals. Argentina beat France in the penalties. And actually, nobody mentioned about Morocco. Croatia beat Morocco 2-1. And that was for the third place. So, and here we are. It's 2026, and this is the United, which is the Canada, United States, and Mexico World Cup. And BCA was added again. They came up with their research, and actually then they revised it. So basically, in the round of 32, well, they missed a few of those. As you can see, there was Korea Republic, there was Scotland supposed to make it. Then we had Saudi Arabia was supposed to make it. We had Czechia was supposed to make it. And Turkey was supposed to be there. And when we go to round of 16, well, France would have beaten Germany. And as you can see, Morocco would have eliminated Switzerland. And Brazil will eliminate Senegal. And the correct one was England versus Mexico, but that was, again, that was the true one, round of 16. And Spain went through. Belgium beat USA. That was correct, but Turkey was not there. Uruguay is supposed to eliminate them, and Argentina would lose to Portugal. And then in quarterfinals, it would be France versus Morocco, Spain versus Belgium, which was correct. Brazil versus England, no. Uruguay versus Portugal, no. And then France would have beaten Morocco. That was one. Spain versus Belgium. Brazil will lose to England, and Uruguay will lose to Portugal. So their first time, they had predicted that the France in semifinal will beat Spain and England will lose to Portugal. And then they came out with the final, uh, as far as in the finals, they looked at, and in this situation, France will be victorious. Now, then they revised it, and the bottom line was, and they felt in the semifinal we'll have France, Spain, England, and Portugal. And in this situation, France would have beaten Spain, which is, as you know, it's the opposite. And then England would have lost to Portugal. Well, I'm sorry, yes, Portugal would have beaten England, well, with his Argentina. So they had 3 out of 4 teams correctly, missed Argentina. So, and then they came out with their best players of the tournament. So we can see some of them, they were correct, but, of course, in each position, we see what they had predicted. Then they came back and revised this, and that was correct as far as semifinal, but they still missed. For instance, they uh, felt that Netherlands will beat Morocco and Germany will beat Paraguay. And they were correct about US Belgium. And then, as you can see, Norway will lose to Brazil, for instance. And but their semifinals were correct. They had France and Spain and England and Argentina, but the thought was that France will beat Spain. So these are, again, remember, we said that the rankings in the beginning, it was France, Spain, Argentina, and England, the top four teams, and here they are. So did we need a lot of all those analysis? Well, uh, Joachim Clements model, he was a mathematician. He's a German mathematician that he had correctly predicted that Germany and Brazil will actually win, and France and Russia will win, and Argentina and Qatar will win. So he had this great reputation, and I thought, well, let's see what his thoughts are about this year. Um, it's interesting to say that he says the first time I was horrified when Germany became world champions in Brazil, also because all the experts had pointed out that no European team had ever won a World Cup in South America, he said. So he used again the GDP per capita plus other sports infrastructure, population size, the status of the football in society, the position in world rankings. And his model, he tips that the Netherlands to beat Spain in the semifinal before upsetting Portugal in the title game. So, and then of course Portugal will beat England. And again, England's in the semifinal in most of these predictions, and then they don't go to the final. So he says he warns others not to take his prediction seriously. Good thinking. So it was his this group stage, what he looked at, and which teams will make it. As you can see, like Democratic Republic of Congo will not be there. Uh, Ghana will not be there. Cape Verde will not be there. And for instance, predicted Iran will be second in Group G. And then South Africa will not be there. Bosnia will not be there. Paraguay will not be there. And Turkey will be the one making it. So, and then Goldman Sachs is back at it again, and they've done a pretty good job basically with their analysis. A model has given Spain the 26% probability of winning, and then it's France, and then Argentina at 14%. They have Brazil at 8%, England at only 5%. So they have chosen the top four: Spain, France, Argentina, and England. And one of the things they odds they use generally when the World Cup following the, uh, the following World Cup after winning the World Cup has not been very favorable to the winner. So that's why they were not favorable to Argentina, although, for instance, France finished second place. They almost made it 2 World Cups in a row. Here we have ESPN. They use their own. I just want to use this is from June 13th. Some of the group stages, see how they predicted. For instance, Belgium will beat Egypt. This is Group G, for instance. They went through all the games and made the predictions. They were correct. Egypt will be tying Iran. New Zealand will draw with Iran. Belgium will draw with Iran. Really amazing. But then New Zealand will beat Egypt. So in their prediction, New Zealand will finish second and Egypt will be last. So the round of 32, again, they had South Korea there. And then they were correct as for Netherlands and Morocco, but it was the opposite. It was Morocco beat Netherlands, Germany will beat Paraguay, and then Japan will beat Brazil. And then they were correct, France and Sweden. Scotland never made it. Very correct. England beat Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. Czechia never made it. Uzbekistan did not make it. Turkey did not make it. So and then when looked at the quarterfinals, they had Canada, for instance, there, but they also had the France. They have the United States losing to Spain and Norway actually they had this England, and basically they noticed that Argentina had a good chance of, for instance, beating Colombia, and France versus Spain in the semifinals. They had Spain favorable, and then they had Norway versus Argentina. Again, not bad. And Argentina will beat Norway. As you know, Argentina beat England 2-1 rather than Norway. And then the World Cup will be Spain versus Argentina. Yahoo Sports also, this is from June 13th. This is their prediction in the group stage. I don't have every one of them, but majority of them. Again, we see South Korea coming second. Um, we see this is pretty close. And then let's see, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ghana made it. Iran again will finish second. All of them at the Cape Verde last. Round of 32, as you can see again, Mexico will eliminate Norway, and uh, uh, correctly, United States will eliminate Bosnia. Germany plays Czechia, which never made it, and Egypt will eliminate it by Netherlands. That didn't happen. And what we see here is, well, Canada played. They didn't play France, and South Korea did not make it, and England didn't play Morocco, and Turkey and Iran. Neither one of them were there. Round of 16, Mexico made it through the round of 18, but with Switzerland, they never played. Uh, Brazil didn't make it. Germany never made it, neither did Netherlands. And then, as you can see again, we have Argentina playing Belgium and Portugal beating Colombia. And in the quarterfinals, as we just mentioned, here we go. Brazil over Mexico, no, Spain over Germany, France over Argentina, and Portugal over England. In the semifinal, it will be Spain over Brazil and France over Portugal. And then the World Cup final will be France over Spain. So, having said that, with all those predictions, again, this is where we are. I want to take you back to all those World Cups and introduce you to some of the favorite animals who would actually will be given a 50-50 chance to choose who's the winner, whether they use cars or they would take a ball and move it some if they're in the water or they're birds. So we'll see. In 2006, we had Nellie the elephant. Well, Nellie the elephant was really the original clairvoyant creature. She would kick the ball in goal marked with the flag of the winning team. Correctly predicted 30 of the 33 matches. No AI, no multi-million dollar contracts or research budget. Basically, they actually did 2006 World Cup, 2010 World Cup, and 2012 Euros. And it's still alive, and it's still in North Germany in Serengeti Park. And here is our favorite Nelly, and this is what was doing. In 2010, we had Manny the parakeet, and uh, it was a Singapore's feather forecaster, and did correctly choose marked cards with his beak, and correctly predicted 5 out of 7, and believed to be still alive. And here it is, our Manny the parakeet. In 2008 and 2010, we also had the Paul the octopus, very famous octopus, which they present with the two food-filled boxes with the flags of the team. And it correctly predicted 12 out of 14. Unfortunately, died out of natural causes in October 2010, just months after his World Cup frame. And here is our octopus. And then 2014, we had the big head, the turtle, and the success was the mixed. and he would use his picks by eating a fish hanging from one of the two flags. And here is our turtle. In 2018, we had Achilles the cat, and success was 90% of his peaks. And what would do, it was actually a deaf white cat whose day job was catching mice at St. Petersburg Hermitage Museum. The two flag marked food bowls and where they placed before him each match, and whichever he ate from was his prediction. 90% success. And here is our cat. And we also had the Rubio, the octopus. Rubio was Japan's eight-legged oracle for Russia 2018. He predicted results by moving between flag-marked section of his tank. He was 100% in the group stage. Well, sadly, he was turned into sashimi before the knockout rounds. And here is our poor octopus. Anyway, the sashimi. And in 2022, we had Israel more regional. It's Camilla the camel. It was a homegrown British oracle from Melton Mowbray, whose owners boldly told the Sun she was never wrong. Well, we don't know. Just we know that predicted England's group stage win over Iran, the shocker, and still residing in Leicestershire. And we have Taiyo the author in 2022 and correctly predicted Japan's famous group stage win over Germany, still in Tokyo. And here's Camilla the camel, and this is our other. And then we have in 2026, we have Cherry the octopus and the resident prognosticator at Cape Town's Two Oceans Aquarium and is correctly has made this initial predictions. So with all this fun and games, what is the conclusion? Well, again, in my world of investments, we have so many pundits. In politics, there are so many consultants. They are poll takers. They spend billions, actually, not even millions, billions of dollars on these things and surveys and research and other things. And then, of course, we have AI. AI, which changes every single minute, not day, not week, not month. It is every minute. It's just so much data is running through all these researches. But human emotions are, and the psychology is what we cannot replace yet. When we talk about finances, when we talk about politics, we talk about sports, there is that human connections, there is the human desire, there is that human ego and fear and also greed and all of those. I don't believe it has been really changed as much of a knowledge we have with the quantitative side of things. Our human emotions are still there. And that makes life interesting and makes life a 50-50 chance. So, with all that data, I don't know if I'll be awake tomorrow, for instance. So, basically, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying the World Cup, which is coming to an end, and enjoy life. Thank you so much.